Utah's deserts, cliffs, and hidden canyons hold secrets carved in stone and shadow, remnants of civilizations whose names are lost. From chambers sealed in remote mazes to geoglyphs etched across salt flats, these places defy explanation. Some stand in plain sight, unrecognized. Others hide behind walls of silence. Every site is a question left unanswered, daring us to imagine the lives that once shaped them. High on a narrow ledge of Comm Ridge stands a spiral tower built from tightly fitted sandstone blocks, its base wider than its peak. The structure curves subtly inward, giving it the strength to withstand centuries of wind. No obvious path leads to it. Climbing requires skill and nerve. From the top, the ridge stretches in both directions, like a petrified wave. Some archaeologists think it was a lookout. Others a ceremonial beacon aligned with the sun's path. On certain evenings, light cuts directly through a gap in its upper stones, casting a sharp beam toward a distant cliff face. The isolation feels intentional, as if whoever built it wanted it to be reached only by those who understood its purpose. Standing there, the wind threads through the gaps in the rock, carrying a low hum that feels almost like a voice remembering its own echo. Across a stretch of the San Rafael Swell, a low but deliberate wall of stones runs for hundreds of feet, its surface smoothed by time. Unlike natural ridges nearby, this causeway sits slightly elevated, as though designed for crossing marshy ground that no longer exists. The alignment is too straight to be random, bending only slightly to follow a distant peak's line of sight. Fragments of charcoal found beneath some stones hint at ancient campfires, but no village remains nearby. Some believe the causeway connected sacred sites, functioning less as a road and more as a path for rituals, a walkway meant for processions rather than travel. At dawn, the first sunlight glances off its length, turning the stones gold against the pale desert. Walking it feels like trespassing into an older map of the land, one whose landmarks have faded from everything except the stones themselves. At Bears Ears, one mesa hosts an arch, unlike any other, its base shaped by wind and water, but its upper span worked by human hands. Chisel marks still faintly trace its edges, and along the interior curve are shallow niches, each large enough to hold a small object. The arch frames the horizon perfectly, catching both sunrise and sunset through its span. Some suspect it marked a threshold between sacred and common ground, a natural monument refined into a ceremonial gateway. Beneath it, the ground is littered with flakes of worked stone, suggesting tools were shaped here before passing through. When the wind passes through the opening, it creates a subtle whistle, as if the structure sings to those who approach. The feeling of standing beneath it is less like entering a place, and more like being allowed in. In the remote stretch of Cathedral Valley, two sandstone pillars rise side by side, their shapes too symmetrical to dismiss as mere erosion. Each stands taller than a four-story building, the surfaces smoothed on one side, as though intentionally shaped. At their base lie scattered blocks that appear cut rather than broken. Between them, the ground is unnaturally level, forming a narrow corridor that frames the horizon beyond. Some believe the pillars marked a gathering point or signal station, perhaps aligned with celestial events. Others suggest they were once part of a larger complex, the rest now eroded into the desert floor. When storms roll in, lightning sometimes strikes both in quick succession, illuminating them against the darkened sky. Standing in the corridor between, you can feel the air shift, as if the land itself takes notice of your presence. High above the floor of Canyonlands, a faint stairway is cut into a sheer cliff face. The steps are narrow and uneven, yet deliberately carved, leading to a ledge that ends abruptly at a vertical wall. No signs of ladders or ropes remain, leaving the final ascent a mystery. The ledge itself contains shallow depressions, perhaps post holes for a wooden structure that's long vanished. The location offers a commanding view of converging canyons, as if whoever climbed here needed to watch multiple directions at once. Some speculate the stairway was used for rituals involving the landscape, a climb meant not for travel, but for transformation. In the midday heat, the stone radiates warmth, and each step seems to pull you further from the world below. The higher you climb, the quieter it becomes, until only the sound of your breath and the distant wind remains. Near Dead Horse Point, hidden beyond the popular overlooks, lies a shallow basin encircled by a low stone wall. The wall is too uniform to be natural, its stones fitted together without mortar, their placement steady despite centuries of weather. The basin within is bare of vegetation, its soil packed hard, as if it once held water or gatherings of people. From the rim, the view extends for miles, mesas, canyons, and the winding river far below. The wall's single gap faces a notch in the distant cliffs, suggesting intentional alignment. No artifacts have been found here, yet the site feels prepared, as though awaiting a purpose that never returned. At sunset, the basin fills with shadow, while the rim glows gold, creating a stark divide between the inner circle and the land beyond. Crossing the gap feels like stepping into a separate, older room of the earth. Beneath the fluctuating waters of Lake Powell lie clusters of stone circles, their arrangement too precise to be accidental. When drought lowers the waterline, some of these formations reappear, revealing rings of flat-topped stones set into the lake bed. Divers describe the circles as perfectly round, with diameters ranging from 10 to 30 feet, each with a central stone slightly taller than the rest. Some researchers suggest they were once ceremonial plazas or markers before the canyon was flooded. The location matches old maps, showing indigenous trails converging at this spot. The water preserves them eerily well, silt coating the surfaces like a thin skin, fish moving in slow spirals between the stones. From above, when the sun is high and the lake clear, the circles shimmer faintly beneath the surface, looking almost like ripples that froze in place centuries ago. The question remains, who placed them, and for what enduring purpose? On Antelope Island, amid the salty expanse of the Great Salt Lake, lie stone enclosures built around small freshwater springs. Each is a low circle of carefully placed rocks, preserving the spring's edges against wind and sand. Some are connected by narrow stone channels, as if directing water between them. These structures predate modern settlement, yet no confirmed records explain their origin. Indigenous oral traditions speak of the springs as sacred, places where offerings were left for the spirits of the lake. The enclosures stand above the highest modern waterline, hinting at use during a different climate phase. In the stillness of the island, the springs burble softly, the only fresh water for miles. Standing there surrounded by shimmering salt flats, you feel the weight of how important these oases once were, and how deliberately they were cared for by hands long vanished into the horizon. At the edge of the coral pink sand dunes, shifting winds sometimes uncover slabs of sandstone carved with ancient petroglyphs. The images range from spirals and human figures to what appear to be maps of rivers no longer flowing. Most of the year, these carvings are buried beneath fine, rose-colored sand, their locations known only to a few locals and archaeologists. The glyphs are deeply incised, their lines sharp despite centuries of exposure before the dunes overtook them. Some panels seem to align with the solstices, the rising or setting sun casting light directly into their grooves. Finding them is like stepping into a secret. One gust of wind can hide them again for years. The carvings suggest the area was once a gathering place, yet today it feels deserted, the sand reclaiming its surface inch by inch. Each uncovered glyph seems to speak only briefly before the dunes hush it again. Deep within the Escalante River canyons, a small lagoon is held by a semicircle of stacked stone, its arc blending seamlessly into the canyon wall. The stones are carefully laid without mortar, their faces smoothed by time and water. In drought, the structure sits high above the trickling river, revealing its full shape. In flood, it disappears beneath swirling sediment. No one knows if it was meant to trap fish, store water, or serve a ceremonial role. The curve faces the sunrise, and at certain times of year, the light reflects off the water onto the inner wall, illuminating faint red pigment stains that may be remnants of ancient markings. The sense of isolation here is profound. The lagoon is invisible from any trail, its presence betrayed only by the sound of water echoing differently inside the stone's embrace. Standing at its edge, the air feels cooler, as though the stones themselves have learned to hold the memory of water. On the northwestern edges of the Great Salt Lake, strange limestone spires rise from shallow water, coated in glistening salt crystals. These tufa towers form when freshwater springs bubble through the lake's alkaline brine, depositing minerals that slowly grow upward. While some are natural, others show signs of being shaped, flat platforms carved into their sides, grooves worn smooth as if by human hands. A few towers stand in clusters, their arrangement almost like an amphitheater, with one larger spire at the center. Some geologists insist these are purely natural features, but their alignment and modification raise questions. At dawn, the salt crystals catch the light, glowing in shades of gold and pink, before the heat turns them stark white. In the still air, the tower's reflections double their presence in the water, giving the eerie impression of an ancient city half sunk beneath the lake's shimmering surface. Near the southern shore of Utah Lake, local divers discovered a long row of fitted stones extending into the murky water. The structure is too linear and uniform to be natural, its surface flat enough to suggest it once supported wooden planks. Some believe it was a prehistoric dock or fish trapping platform, built when the lake's level was lower. Silt and algae cover most of the stones, but the outer edge remains sharply defined, like a submerged road vanishing into the green depths. On calm days, the stones can be glimpsed from the air as a pale line beneath the water's surface. Old settler accounts speak of Indian landings along this shore, though no details survive. The dock's quiet persistence beneath the waves hints at a time when the shoreline bustled with unseen life, and at a community whose history has been erased by rising water and forgetting. High on a barren slope of the Henry Mountains, a pale scar in the cliff marks a place where stone has been deliberately fitted to close an opening. The wall's color nearly matches the surrounding rock, yet faint tool marks betray its human origin. Small gaps near the top release a faint, cool draft, carrying the scent of damp earth from somewhere deep inside. No trail leads here. Reaching it requires scrambling across loose talus and navigating cliff ledges. Locals whisper about a mountain door that no one has opened in living memory. Whether the cave holds ceremonial objects, burials, or something entirely unknown remains speculation. The ceiling is old enough that lichen has claimed much of the surface, binding the wall into the mountain itself. Standing before it, you can feel the temperature shift, as if the blocked opening still breathes slowly, refusing to let its secrets pass. In the sprawling sandstone corridors of 9 Mile Canyon, high alcoves conceal ancient granaries sealed with mud-plastered stone. These tiny rooms, often no bigger than a crouching space, were built to store corn and seeds safe from rodents and moisture. Some still bear the faint impressions of hands in the plaster, their creators' fingerprints pressed into permanence. The climb to reach them is dangerous even today, involving narrow ledges and sheer drops. Inside, the air is dry and still, with dust undisturbed for centuries. A few caches have been found with kernels intact, shrunken and brittle but still recognizable. The granary's remote placement suggests both protection and secrecy. Perhaps only certain members of the community knew their locations. Seen from below, they vanish into the cliff's patchwork of shadows, a reminder that the canyon hides not only its art, but also the means by which its people endured. Winding through the jagged backbone of the San Rafael Reef are narrow tunnels that seem too regular to be purely natural. While some are clearly formed by erosion, others bear flat ceilings, right-angled corners, and walls smoothed as though by human hands. The passages are just wide enough for a person to walk through, leading from one hidden alcove to another. Some open suddenly, onto small chambers with soot-blackened ceilings, hinting at ancient campfires. A few contain shallow niches cut into the stone, perfectly sized for small vessels or lamps. The tunnel's alignment suggests they may have been escape routes or concealed paths between ceremonial areas. Moving through them, you can feel the air change from warm and dry to unexpectedly cool, as if the passages lead deeper than they appear. The sense of being inside something both natural and crafted lingers long after you emerge back into the sun. On the grassy slopes of the Fish Lake Plateau, a sinkhole once revealed the roof of a narrow underground passage. The opening has since been partially filled by soil and vegetation, but local ranchers recall crawling inside to find walls of stacked stone, still straight and tight despite their age. The passage sloped gently downward, disappearing into darkness after a short stretch. No one has mapped its full extent. Collapses and flooding have kept explorers from venturing too far. The construction is unlike the rough field walls nearby, showing a precision that hints at specialized knowledge. Some believe it connects to a larger subterranean complex, perhaps a refuge or storage area. In the silence of the plateau, with wind in the aspens and the scent of damp earth rising from the entrance, it's easy to imagine footsteps echoing down there long before the first ranch fence was built. Cedar Mesa's sandstone cliffs hide countless alcoves, but one in particular stands apart. A high, shadowed niche, blocked by a stone wall set deep within. From below, the wall looks like part of the cliff, yet binoculars reveal carefully laid courses of stone, their edges too precise to be natural. The vault is inaccessible without climbing gear, and those who have approached say the wall is intact, its surface smooth with age. No openings or cracks reveal the interior, but the placement far above the canyon floor suggests its contents were meant to be kept from all but the most determined. Some archaeologists suspect it could hold ritual objects, while others think it may be a burial site. The surrounding cliff bears no markings, as if to avoid drawing attention. At sunset, the vault falls into shadow long before the rest of the wall, as though deliberately hidden from the day's last light. Far out in the Sevier Desert, beyond the reach of any modern road, lies a circular depression ringed with stones. At its center, a perfectly round shaft drops straight down, its walls lined with fitted blocks that vanish into darkness. There are no signs of a settlement nearby, no ruins or foundations to suggest who dug it. After spring rains, the well sometimes fills partway, the water reflecting the sky in a way that makes it look bottomless. When dry, the air from within carries a faint mineral scent, cool even under the harsh summer sun. Its purpose is unknown: water source, ceremonial offering place, or something else entirely. The silence around it feels intentional, as though the desert has drawn a boundary no one dares cross. Dropping a stone inside produces an echo that lingers, a hollow note that seems to fade reluctantly into whatever space lies far below. High on the rim of Dead Horse Point, where sheer cliffs drop toward the Colorado River, faint human-like faces are etched into the sandstone. Weathered by centuries, their outlines remain just sharp enough to suggest deliberate craftsmanship. Some are no more than eye and brow shapes. Others show full profiles gazing out over the canyon. They appear in clusters, each face turned toward the horizon, as if watching the same distant point. No nearby habitation sites explain their placement. From certain angles, the evening sun casts deep shadows in the carving's recesses, bringing their features into striking relief. Some believe they were intended as guardians, their expressions unreadable yet somehow alert. Others think they may mark seasonal events, silently measuring time in the vast emptiness. Standing among them at sunset, the light and wind seem to conspire, making the cliff itself feel sentient, aware of your presence, and unmoved. Along the sandstone spine of Combe Ridge, fragments of ancient wooden ladders cling to impossible heights. The rungs, shaped from juniper and lashed with sinew, are weathered to silver, but still hold together in places. Some hang beside vertical cracks in the cliff. Others end abruptly at alcoves too small for shelter. Archaeologists suggest they may have led to once hidden storage rooms or ceremonial sites. Climbing them today is unthinkable. The wood crumbles at a touch, and the drop is sheer. Yet the effort to build and place them speaks of deliberate intent, a vertical connection between worlds. From below, the ladders are nearly invisible until light strikes them at a certain angle, catching the twisted grain of the wood. They seem to defy both time and gravity, clinging stubbornly to their posts, like relics from a dream no one has fully woken from. In a remote side canyon off Butler Wash, an overhang shelters a wall of vivid pictographs, untouched by graffiti or fading sun. Figures painted in red, white, and yellow march across the sandstone. Humans with elaborate headdresses, horned animals, and abstract patterns whose meaning has been lost. The alcove's location is concealed by a series of dry waterfalls and narrow ledges, making it invisible until you're directly beneath it. The paint's preservation suggests it has been shielded for centuries, perhaps intentionally hidden. Some symbols appear to overlap older, fainter ones, as though each generation added to the story without erasing the past. In the still air of the alcove, the colors seem almost alive, their pigments catching what little light filters in. The silence here feels like a pact, one that has kept these images untouched, while others across the southwest have vanished. High on a cliff face in Capitol Reef National Park, a narrow stone platform juts out like a ledge built for a sentinel. It's reachable only by scaling a sheer wall, yet from its position, the view spans miles in every direction. The platform is edged with low, fitted stones, forming a kind of parapet. No artifacts have been found there, but its vantage point would have made it a perfect lookout or ceremonial stage. Some speculate it was used for sky watching, given its clear view of both horizons. At dawn, the first light strikes the platform before touching the canyon floor, while at night it sits directly beneath a ribbon of stars. Its inaccessibility keeps it untouched, but from afar, it draws the eye, a reminder that human presence once reached even the most improbable places. Carved directly into the vertical rock of a secluded canyon in Zion, a series of narrow steps ascends from the canyon floor toward a high ledge. The steps are barely wide enough for a foot, their edges rounded with age, yet the alignment is too precise to be natural. Midway up, the stairway turns sharply into a shallow recess before continuing upward, as if leading to something once built into the wall. From below, the path looks impossible, a ribbon of stone dissolving into the cliff face. At the top, the ledge ends abruptly, offering only a view back down the canyon, unless something once stood there, now long gone. The effort to create such a path suggests it led somewhere important, a place worth the climb and the risk. Today it remains empty, a fragment of purpose suspended above the earth. Near a seldom visited arch in the park's outer reaches, a high ledge produces a strange effect. Whispers spoken at one end can be clearly heard at the other, though the space between is open air. The ledge is narrow, edged by a drop into a sandstone basin. Along its back wall, faint petroglyphs mark spirals and human shapes, some with exaggerated ears. The acoustic phenomenon has been tested. Even a soft scrape of a boot carries perfectly along the rock. Some suggest the ledge was used for communication or performance, allowing voices to travel between distant points without shouting. At sunset, the ledge catches the last gold light, and the surrounding basin falls into shadow, making the figures on the wall seem to lean forward, listening. The effect is uncanny, as if the stone itself holds not only sound but intent, repeating it to those who know how to listen. Before the dam flooded Glen Canyon, explorers documented kiva-like structures tucked into alcoves just above the riverbank. When the reservoir rose, many of these sites vanished beneath the surface. Divers report finding circular stone outlines still intact underwater, their walls holding against decades of submersion. Silt drapes the interiors, and fish drift lazily through what were once sacred spaces. Some walls are blackened with soot, proof that fires once burned here. Access is dangerous. Cold, dark waters and shifting debris guard these sunken chambers. The few who've reached them speak of an uncanny quiet, broken only by the sound of bubbles escaping into the vast, still expanse above. With every year, more sediment hides the details, sealing away not just the architecture, but the memory of ceremonies that may never be understood again. Deep within the canyons of the Grand Staircase, small stone enclosures ring hidden springs that bubble up from the rock. The walls are low but skillfully laid, designed to funnel and protect the water source. Some have narrow openings aligned to the east, perhaps for ritual significance, while others are fully enclosed save for a single spillway. The springs themselves are lifelines in an otherwise arid landscape, and their concealment suggests deliberate protection from both animals and outsiders. The stones bear mineral staining from centuries of overflow, their colors shifting from pale gold to deep red. On quiet mornings, steam rises faintly from the water, blurring the line between natural and constructed. Even now, the pools seem untouched, their surfaces mirroring the cliffs above, as if holding both the past and present in a single reflection. Fishermen on Utah Lake have long told of snagging nets on something solid, far from shore. When water levels drop after dry winters, low stone walls emerge just beneath the surface, aligned in squares and rectangles. These formations are too regular to be natural, yet no record of a settlement exists for this spot. Local lore speaks of a community lost to sudden flooding, the inhabitants forced to abandon everything. Divers describe finding hearthstones, grinding slabs, and fragments of pottery among the silt. The lake's murky water makes photography difficult, and shifting currents hide and reveal the ruins unpredictably. Standing on the shore when the water is low, you can sometimes see the glint of a stone corner under the ripples, a fleeting glimpse of a place the lake seems intent on reclaiming. Scattered across the slick rock plateaus of Canyonlands are shallow basins that fill with clear water after storms. Some are ringed with small stones, suggesting human alteration, while others hold faint carvings, spirals, tracks, and concentric circles just beneath the waterline. What makes them strange is their tendency to drain suddenly, sometimes within hours, leaving the rock bone dry. The water seems to vanish without soaking into the stone, as if drawn away through unseen channels. In certain light, the basin's floors appear slightly concave, polished smooth as if by centuries of hands or feet. Archaeologists debate whether they served as ritual mirrors, reflecting the sky for ceremonial purposes, or as practical water catchments for travelers. Either way, they remain unpredictable, holding their reflections only for as long as the land allows. Along side channels of the Escalante River, low stone dams crisscross narrow streams. Built without mortar, they still hold back enough water to form small pools, even in dry months. Some have stepped spillways, directing overflow into secondary channels that lead toward nearby terraces. These terraces contain soil darker and richer than the surrounding desert, suggesting they were once cultivated. The dam's design is simple yet enduring, blending so seamlessly into the canyon that many hikers pass without noticing them. Moss and water plants cling to the stone, disguising their edges, but close inspection reveals deliberate placement. In the stillness of early morning, the pools reflect only red cliffs and blue sky, a reminder that the same waters that shaped this landscape once also sustained life in the most deliberate of ways. In the remote Uinta Basin, scattered stone rings mark the openings of deep, narrow wells. Each is lined with fitted blocks, their joints so tight that even fine sand has not sifted through. Most are dry now, though some still hold a few feet of water after heavy rains. The wells are far from modern roads, with no evidence of recent use, and their age is unknown. Local stories claim they were dug to access not just water, but sweet springs said to heal illness. A few have collapsed, their rims crumbling into piles of rubble, while others remain perfectly circular, resisting centuries of erosion. Looking down into their depths, the air feels cooler, denser, as though carrying the memory of the hands that once raised each stone into place. In the heart of the San Rafael Swell, a solitary sandstone monolith rises from the desert floor like a sentinel. Its surface is streaked with desert varnish, but near the base, faint chisel-like marks suggest human shaping. No other formation nearby matches its form or height, making its isolation all the more striking. On certain days, the shadow it casts aligns perfectly with a distant butte, a phenomenon visible only at midday. Some believe it was a natural spire later altered, others that it was intentionally erected, a marker in an otherwise trackless expanse. The wind hums faintly around its edges, and when you press your palm to its face, it holds a surprising warmth, as if storing the day's light for some unseen purpose. Tucked in a remote corner of Goblin Valley State Park, stand two towering pillars of sandstone, separated by only a few feet. Though the park is filled with unusual shapes, these two are uncannily symmetrical, their tops flat and their sides worn smooth. At their base, a ring of smaller stones forms a nearly perfect circle, half buried in the sand. The symmetry, combined with their position facing a narrow gap in the cliffs, has led some to suggest they once framed a ceremonial path or marked an entrance. At sunrise, the gap between them glows with golden light, as if intentionally aligned. Visitors who camp nearby speak of hearing low, rhythmic sounds at night, the wind moving through the gap, or perhaps something older echoing back. Near the base of the Bear's Ears Buttes, a massive slab of sandstone leans at a precise angle, supported by smaller stones wedged beneath it. The positioning looks deliberate, as though the slab was lifted and set in place, rather than left by erosion. Beneath the tilted stone, a sheltered space remains dry even in heavy rain, its floor littered with small, smoothed pebbles. The tilt allows the setting sun to cast a narrow beam of light into the hollow for only a few minutes each evening. Some see it as a calendar stone, others as a shrine. Standing inside when the light passes through feels like standing in a doorway between two worlds, the glow warm on your skin while the shadows cling just beyond. In open flats near 9 Mile Canyon, rows of upright stones run in parallel lines across the ground. Each stone is roughly the same height, spaced evenly apart, their tops worn smooth by centuries of weather. The alignments stretch for hundreds of feet, vanishing into sagebrush and dust. Aerial surveys reveal that they form large geometric shapes, rectangles, triangles, and a spiral, visible only from above. Some suggest they were markers for astronomical events. Others believe they guided travelers or herded animals. Whatever their use, the labor to place them in such precision speaks of coordination and purpose. At dawn, when the light is low, the stones cast long shadows that merge into patterns, briefly revealing the shapes to anyone on the ground. Atop a narrow ridge in the canyon rim's area sits a massive boulder, balanced on a point so small it seems impossible it hasn't toppled. Unlike other balanced rocks in the region, this one rests on a flat, smooth pedestal with faint tool marks around its base. It's unclear if the boulder was moved into position or shaped where it stands, but its placement offers a panoramic view of the valleys in every direction. Locals say lightning has struck the rock multiple times, leaving shallow glassy scars along its surface. From below, it appears ready to fall with the next strong wind, yet it has endured countless storms, as if anchored by something deeper than stone. In a side canyon of Capitol Reef, a slender sandstone pillar rises beside a dry wash. Standing close, you can hear a low hum when the wind passes, a sound amplified by a narrow vertical crack running its length. The pillar's shape focuses and carries the sound, making it audible even on calm days when the breeze is slight. Carved into its base are shallow grooves resembling tally marks, though they're too eroded to count precisely. Some researchers think the grooves were made to measure sun angles or shadow lengths, others that they marked events or seasons. At sunset, the hum deepens into a resonant tone, echoing faintly against the canyon walls. It's easy to imagine this place as both marker and messenger, keeping its voice alive for those who know how to stand and listen. Horseshoe Canyon is famous for its barrier canyon-style rock art, but some panels sit far from the marked trail, revealed only when the sun strikes at steep angles. These shadow panels are etched into sheltered alcoves, their figures faint and often masked by mineral deposits, until light grazes the surface. The images are tall and abstract, with elongated limbs and hollow eyes, and some carry smaller shapes inside their torsos. Nearby boulders bear scratches and cup-like depressions, as if tools were prepared on site. Archaeologists suspect these secluded panels may have been reserved for specific rituals, shielded from casual view. Stand before one at the right moment, and a figure will seem to step forward from the stone, its outline sharpening as if it had always been waiting for you. On a cliff face, overlooking a narrow canyon in the San Rafael swell, petroglyphs of spirals, animals, and handprints cluster in unusual density. The location is more than artistic, it's acoustic. A loud clap or spoken word rebounds in crisp echoes, repeated multiple times before fading. Some symbols align directly with spots that produce the clearest echoes, hinting at a connection between sound and imagery. The carvings are deep, suggesting repeated retracing over generations. Below the panel, a stone circle sits partially buried in sand, perhaps a gathering point for those who interacted with both the art and the canyon's voice. Even without speaking, the place feels alive. The walls seem to listen, ready to answer if you offer the right call. High on a cliff ledge in the Bears Ears region, a shallow alcove shelters faded red and white paintings. Access is perilous, a narrow scramble along a crumbly ledge, with nothing but air on one side. The images depict human-like forms, with radiating lines from their heads, animals in profile, and what appear to be stylized plants. A layer of mineral wash partly obscures the art, but in certain light, the pigments glow faintly, as if illuminated from within. This hidden location has preserved the paintings from weather and vandalism, yet it has also kept them largely unseen. Those who reach it describe a stillness broken only by the wind rushing up from the canyon floor, carrying the scent of juniper and the sense of standing somewhere meant to be both seen and unseen. Along a bend in the Fremont River, a boulder displays an arrangement of carved lines, dots, and geometric shapes. Unlike typical petroglyphs, the design appears to correspond to the surrounding landscape, the river's curve, the nearby hills, and a cluster of springs upstream. Some researchers think it may be a route map, guiding travelers to resources, while others believe it's symbolic, representing spiritual or seasonal pathways. The surface is worn but still legible, with certain features highlighted by natural mineral staining. Standing beside it, you can trace the lines with your fingers, and then glance up to see the same contours mirrored in the horizon. Whether practical or ceremonial, the carving connects the stone directly to the land it watches over. 9 Mile Canyon's cliffs hold more than figures and symbols. In certain spots, human-like faces are carved directly into the rock. These faces are subtle, their outlines blending with natural cracks and shadows until you look closely. Some appear serene, others grim, and a few are so eroded they seem almost ghostly. Their placement is deliberate, often near trail overlooks or water sources. The scale varies. Some are no larger than a handspan, others as tall as a person. The expressions are enigmatic, neither fully human nor entirely abstract, as if intended to be recognized only in passing. Encountering one unexpectedly along a canyon wall feels like being noticed in return. At Parawan Gap, a narrow pass through the mountains, petroglyphs crowd a vertical cliff face. Among them is a large spiral carved with exceptional precision, its grooves deep and uniform. Archaeologists believe the site functioned as a solar and lunar calendar, with the spiral tracking celestial events through the play of light and shadow. On solstices, the setting sun aligns with the gap, casting beams across the carving in ways that seem purposeful. Other nearby images, snakes, bighorn sheep, human figures, may tie into seasonal migrations or ceremonies. The spiral draws the eye immediately, its center pulling you inward like a slow-turning vortex. Standing before it, you feel the weight of time and the sense that someone long ago understood the sky's movements in ways we are only beginning to rediscover. In a remote wash within Grand Staircase, Escalante, a sequence of stone steps ascends a cliff face, each one neatly leveled and evenly spaced. They climb to a ledge with no apparent destination, no cave, no structure, just a flat overlook. The steps show tool marks in places, yet the surrounding rock is untouched, making it unclear if they were carved into an existing slope or assembled from blocks. At certain times of year, the sunset aligns with the top step, bathing the entire staircase in golden light. Some speculate it was a ceremonial ascent, a place to address the horizon or watch for celestial signs. Alone in the canyon, the steps look almost absurd in their precision, a perfect path to nowhere. Deep within the tangle of slot canyons known as Robber's Roost lies a narrow stone bridge, hidden from view until you round a bend. Unlike other arches in the region, this one is perfectly level, resembling a crafted span. Beneath it, the canyon floor is smooth, as though water once rushed through here in greater force, carving the span into shape. The bridge's top bears faint wear marks, as if it was crossed regularly. No trail leads to it now, and its approach requires navigating twisting narrows that seem designed to discourage visitors. Standing upon it, you can see only the red walls on either side, yet the wind moves as if channeled from far beyond. Cathedral Valley in Capital Reef holds a hidden hollow, its sandstone walls stained a deep, unnatural black. The discoloration is not from lichen or mineral leaching. It looks more like fire, yet no soot or ash remains. The chamber's floor is bare, swept clean by wind, and the entrance is narrow enough to funnel light into a concentrated beam at midday. Some believe it was a gathering place, others that lightning once struck here repeatedly. Whatever the cause, the darkness clings to the stone, and even in the brightest sun, the hollow feels shaded, its air heavier than the surrounding canyon. Along a dry bend of the San Juan River, shifting sands sometimes reveal a wall of tightly fitted sandstone blocks. The wall stands only a few feet high now, but extends laterally under the dune for an unknown distance. The blocks are chiseled with remarkable uniformity, their edges sharp despite centuries of burial. Some seasons the wall vanishes entirely under wind-blown sand, only to reappear after storms strip the surface. No associated ruins or foundations are nearby, suggesting the wall may be a fragment of a larger, long-lost structure. Digging is prohibited, leaving its full extent and purpose locked away beneath the desert's shifting skin. Coyote Gulch hides two stone arches that face each other across a narrow stream bed, close enough to touch if they leaned forward. Their symmetry is startling. Both curve in the same graceful arc, both anchored to the canyon wall at the same height. Beneath them, the stream runs shallow and clear, its bed lined with small, flat stones. On summer afternoons, sunlight passes through both arches at once, casting overlapping shadows on the canyon floor. Some believe the arches marked a meeting place, a natural gateway for travelers moving through the gulch. At night, framed by the sky, they resemble open eyes, watching the stars drift above. On a cliff edge near Dead Horse Point, a spiral pattern in vivid red mineral staining winds across a flat expanse of sandstone. The spiral is large enough to be visible from the opposite rim, yet from ground level it blends into the rock until you stand within it. The color appears natural, iron oxide seeping into cracks, but its distribution is too precise to dismiss entirely as random. Some sections of the spiral show chisel-like borders, as though the staining was once outlined or guided. Standing in the center offers a view of the canyons below that feels both commanding and strangely contained, as if the spiral is a boundary, keeping what's inside from spilling into the vastness beyond. Utah's canyons, cliffs and deserts hold more than breathtaking scenery. They guard puzzles carved into stone and hidden in shadow. From steps leading nowhere to petroglyphs that speak with echoes, each site is a fragment of a story we can't fully read. The land keeps its own counsel, revealing just enough to remind us that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. Some are meant to be experienced.